How's it going, everyone? My name is DrapPep, and welcome back to another installment of Drap Chat. I would like to talk about how I got into playing the bass guitar. I was in high school, and my friend came up to me one day and was just like, "We should start a band." Now, at the time, I didn't put much energy into that idea, right? I didn't think about it much. I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna start a band, sure." He goes, "No, let's do it. What instrument do you want to play?" He had called dibs on lead guitar, and I'm like, "Okay, that's fine, yeah." And then I go, "What's the easiest instrument I could play?" "Oh, well, that'd be the bass guitar." "I'll do that. I want to play the bass." So, "Are you sure?" "But yeah, I don't want to put a lot of energy into this." So at the time, I didn't think much of it until he got a guitar. And then, we found a person who could do the drums. And then we found a person who could sing. And I was like, oh, damn, now I have to get a bass. Aw. So I told my parents that I wanted a bass guitar because I wanted to, join this band that my friends were starting. And so we went to Guitar Center just to see if I would be into playing the bass. And I didn't know how to play, right? I was just like messing around with the strings. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. This is fun. Still didn't think much about it until I think it was like Christmas. And uh I think at the time I was living in I'm gonna say Costa Mesa. And my dad showed me that, hey, we got you a Christmas gift. And I was like, okay, cool. I didn't think much of it. And it was a bass guitar. I was blown away. I was like, no way. You actually got me one of these? And it came with a small amp, which I still have. I have both my original bass and amp. And the amp was only for like, you know, practice sessions. I think it's only like 50 watts. Um, I have since gotten a much stronger amp, which is 120 watts, which it's pretty nice. It's actually pretty nice. And I have a new bass, which I have played a lot of, but at the time, right, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue, and there was a music teacher in my school, Mr. Henthorne, and I've had his class a couple of times for like history of rock and roll, and I've taken a couple of that was about it. Just history of rock and roll. At one point, uh, he found out that my dad played the trombone, and he was wondering if I wanted to play the trombone. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind learning it. So he was teaching me a little bit here and there, and he said that he would teach me even more if I agreed to join the marching band. And I was kind of on the fence about that one too. I was like, what would I have to do? It's like, oh, well, you'd have to play, and you'd have to be a part of the band because football games and stuff. It's like, that's not too bad. Okay. Oh, and you have to like get here very early in the morning. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. I'm not waking up early in the morning to do that. So I didn't learn the bass guitar, but he did. My God, I didn't learn the trombones, what I might say, but he did teach me how to play the bass guitar. Just a few things. And it was all I needed to pretty much keep going on my own. So my friends and we were learning with tabs, right? Like instead of using music sheet notes and all that, we were just using tabs. And at first we were just kind of doing cover songs. Nothing really original, just a cover band idea, which was fun. And I had like this journal that I was writing all of my tabs in. And there was times when I would be in school and I would just be kind of going through all of my tabs. And a lot of my teachers were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm going over which songs I want to practice later." And a few of them kind of enjoyed talking to me about what music I was playing and what tabs I was, researching. Like to the point where they were kind of like inviting me into the classrooms during lunch break to like look over and like give me recommendations of what I should learn, which was a lot of fun. And I just remember I really enjoyed the complicated bass lines. And to this day, I kind of still do enjoy more complicated bass lines. Because here's the thing, you could play the electric guitar and acoustic, right? Whatever. You'll be able to identify what that is. You can't do that with the bass guitar. You can't play the bass line from a song and people will be like, "Oh, I know what that is. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I know that song." No, no, that's not how that works. But the more complicated stuff, like if I start playing YYZ on the bass, people would probably be able to identify what that is. If I was to play Disco Inferno, right? Dun 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 dun. Like people get that one because it's iconic. People can figure it out. Um, so I sort of stuck to more complicated bass lines that I can learn, and it was also a way of kind of pushing myself into more complicated rhythms so that I can be even better as a bass player. So I would show up to band practice, getting ready to, start playing. Turns out our drummer didn't have a drum set. Okay. So we would try to look for another drummer. Well, we found another drummer who had a drum set, didn't know how to play drums. And we're like, "What? What?" And that was like a common thing. Like we kept finding drummers that could either play but didn't have drum set or had a drum set and didn't know how to play. It, then learn. You're halfway there. Just play. So eventually, I started playing in another band. Once again, they had a drummer but no drum set, and that was super frustrating. And then I joined another band after that, and uh, they had all of the equipment but not enough players. And so I would kind of like try to help each band out. Like I was a part of three different bands with wildly different genres of music. And none of them were able to take off because we could never seem to find a drummer. And despite how I kept saying, let's just go to Guitar Center and put like an ad out there that we're looking for a drummer, of course they were like, nah, we don't want to do that. We'll just save up to get a drum. Or, nah, we'll just wait for our drummer to learn how to play the drums. So despite being a part of three different bands, and I would still show up to practice to play, we never really could get off the ground because the drummer, that was the hardest thing to get. Like, sure, finding a good bass player is one thing. Finding a lead singer that can actually sing is even harder. Because if your lead singer cannot sing, good luck getting any gigs. So, I think only one of the bands I was a part of had a good singer. Like, I mean, phenomenal vocal cords. The other two, not so much. um, and the only thing that held us back really was we never could get a drummer. We never could. And that sucked. But honestly, I still kind of really enjoyed just kind of playing the bass, just having fun with it. I haven't played in such a long time. I have been meaning to pick it back up again and start playing again. Um, just sort of like get back into the old songs that I was playing, but then like look for even more complicated songs, like more complicated bass lines. I don't know. It's funny to look back and think about how the fact that I never really put much energy into the idea of playing the bass to then loving it the most. Loving playing the bass. And I don't know, I'm really glad that I did it. Even though none of the bands ever took off because we could never find a drummer, I still really enjoyed just sort of relaxing to the bass guitar because playing the bass is very soothing. It's very relaxing, especially when you get to like a good rhythm going. Oh, that's more satisfying. And I always had hoped that I could be a professional bass player in a band but I that just wasn't in the cards for me. Being a professional musician was not in my future, but I'm still glad I picked up the hobby. I'm still very grateful that I started playing the bass guitar because it was a good outlet for me in high school. It really was. But that's going to be it for this installment. I want to thank everyone for tuning in.